This is Swarfcast. I'm Noah Graff. I am very honored to have Andrew Schiller, instructor of the practice in engineering at Utah Tech University. Welcome to the show, Andrew.
Thanks, Noah.
I first met Andrew on LinkedIn, and he had just a fascinating post. You know, we've talked about education a lot on this show, but he just seemed a little different. And so I had to get to know him a little better. First, I just want to know briefly what you do.
I'm sort of a non-traditional university instructor. So I don't have a PhD, but I come from industry. And our institution really values hands-on kind of experiential learning and practical experience in industry. So I originally found out about the job when I was living on the other side of the country in Kentucky. And the job was to manage a couple lab spaces, primarily a manufacturing lab, and then teach courses related to manufacturing and design for manufacturing or product design. And so I came on. So that's my responsibility. I am one of two folks now who manage our what we call our fabrication lab or our manufacturing lab. And then I also, a little more than half of my responsibility is teaching courses related to manufacturing or product design.
Give me the 5-minute journey. How did you get to where you are?
That's good.
I usually say to 5 minutes because 5 minutes generally will turn into 10, and that's fine. But
I'll try. We'll see. I grew up in an environment where I was really encouraged to enjoy making things. Mostly just the influence of my dad. He's a professional model maker and has a shop. And
what does that mean? A model maker?
Mainly models for advertising or trade shows or things like that, where someone needs a physical model of their product or a food product or a flower or something. It's very artistic, but also kind of technical. So he does that for a lot of companies and has a shop that he always worked for himself, and let me hang out in his shop quite a bit. I first got introduced to machining processes there. He has a mill and a lathe that I did a ton of horrible things on probably, but had a lot of fun. And going to university, kind of knew I wanted to do mechanical engineering with no plan beyond, I just really want to make stuff. I really enjoy that.
And you went to Valpo University?
I did, Valparaiso, so little school in Indiana.
I've heard of it. Well, I'm from Chicago, so.
There you go. Yeah, I grew up in Chicago originally.
Where?
Like Milwaukee and Devon.
Oh,
there's a
Chicago. Superdog right there. I know that.
Yeah.
Chicago.
So went there. It's a small university, and they emphasize kind of hands-on experience, and I had a great time there. After that, went to work at Caterpillar in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Spent 6 years doing starters and alternators. So electrical things that rotate on an engine was kind of how it was divided up. And we didn't do any of the design or manufacturing of those products. We purchased them. But the team that I was on kind of managed the technical relationship with the 7 or 8 companies that we bought those products from.
Okay.
So that was a lot of doing failure analysis, working with the suppliers to bring in new products or address manufacturing quality issues. It was a lot of visiting supplier manufacturing facilities and working in what were kind of medium to high volume commercial vehicle or automotive manufacturing facilities. um, visiting Caterpillar facilities and helping them understand the right way to use these products. Uh, so our job was to work with the companies that made these products and then work with the 300 or 400 different product groups inside Caterpillar to give them the right starter or alternator for their application. Um, so it was really, really fun. I loved that work and did that 6 years and then went to Louisville, Kentucky. A bit of a change in direction. Originally, I went to Louisville,
If it
Kentucky.
was really fun, then why did you leave?
So that's a really good question. We went to Louisville, Kentucky. I started studying for a master's degree in theology and worldview, and
Theology, and what?
worldview. There's a seminary in Louisville, Kentucky that I started going to get a master's degree. And immediately when we moved there, I started working for GE Appliances. So it was kind of doing a dual thing, taking courses in theology and Greek, and also doing product design at GE. I worked in this kind of a weird offshoot of GE um, called First Build, and everyone there was a GE employee. But the goal of this offshoot was to turn out ideas for new products that GE could take. Um, so the entire job was just come up with new ideas, design it as a team, go make it. We had a very well equipped shop.
What were you making?
It was a lot of household appliances kind of stuff, the appliances. So I worked on a what's called the Forge Clear Ice Maker. I was part of a team that did that. I wasn't the main person, but a product that makes large pieces of clear ice. Did a little bit of work on some other things, but that was kind of the main thing. So during our time in Louisville, the first year was pretty rough.
When you say our time, were you had a family or
My wife, and then we have 3 kids now, but we had 2 kids.
3 kids? How old are you?
I'm 35.
Oh wow. I'm 45 and I only have one bugger.
I love my family. They're amazing. My wife is like the best person in the world. So the first year was pretty rough in Louisville. I was in grad school full time, and I was working 20 to 25 hours a week. And then I was also, we bought a very rundown house, and I was working on that about 20 hours a week. And that just became pretty bad for.
So you're not an essentialist.
Define that. Maybe I am, maybe not.
It's this new thing. I heard a guy on a podcast talking about it. It's where you.
If it's new, I'm probably not it. But
it's where you limit limit the things you do that are you have to make choices.
Well, I think I've probably learned to be a little more of an essentialist then. But yeah, that first year was pretty rough. First year and a half, I decided, hey, I'm enjoying the theology classes I'm taking. Those are fun, but I'm not going to sacrifice my family in order to do this. So I'm just going to work full time. And if I take one class at a time and it takes me 10 years to get a degree, I don't care. So started doing that and did it for a little bit. GE got to the point where they wanted to kind of keep me full time, but then COVID happened. I was actually working for GE under a third party as kind of a part time initially, and then a full time kind of outside contract employee. So GE said, "Hey, we'd like to hire you full time, but we're on a hiring freeze right now." And I said, "That's fine. I'll wait." It was a really fun job. I loved the people I was working with. Super cool. I mean, it was the engineer's job, if you can imagine, like, go come up with an idea, go make it, go
And
test it.
and you were a mechanical engineer?
Yes,
Undergrad, bachelor's degree.
bachelor's degree, right. So that went on for 8 or 9 months, and
Oh, that's not
eventually
long.
kind of got to the point where I said, "Hey, I will wait around. I would love to, but if there's not kind of a sure opportunity, I have to start looking at other things." So I started kind of looking around, not super urgent. It was whatever. And in 2020, my wife and I were going to St. George, Utah to go to Zion National Park. And just kind of randomly one evening, I said, I wonder if there are any jobs in St. George, Utah. And I literally typed in engineering jobs in St. George, Utah. And the very first thing that came up was the description of the job that I do now. It
Whoa.
was running a manufacturing lab, kind of machine shop, and teaching students about manufacturing. And I read it, and I passed the computer over to my wife, and I said, "Dear, look at this." And she goes, "Whoa." Um,
Had you taught before?
no, but it was the kind of engineering that gets me really excited. I love manufacturing, I love product design, and now I really enjoy teaching about it. But at the time, I had not, so didn't know. I ended up calling the department chair, who's now my boss, and I just said, "Hey, I saw that you had this job open. I am not I don't have a PhD or even a master's degree in engineering. Am I the kind of person that you're interested in?" And he said, "Yes, you should definitely apply." So I applied. We came out to St. George to go to Zion and do a little kind of just family vacation. We actually saw the campus while I was here, walked around, still hadn't heard anything. I ended up having a phone interview in a hotel room, and then we flew back to Louisville. And 3 days later, I flew back to St. George for an on-campus interview. Um, so
How big is the school?
the school's 12 or 13,000 students total, but the engineering department is quite young. We're about 9 years old,
Okay. So it's
and
not known for engineering at this point.
not at the moment. It's we have about 260 engineering students right now, and the goal is to be about 500 in 2 years. Uh,
Okay.
so the reason the job was open, um, yeah, I ended up taking the job. We moved across the country and did that. So that was 5 years ago. The reason the job was open, they had built or were in the process of building this new building, which I'm in right now. And there are several different colleges in here. Engineering is one of them. And there are 7 engineering labs. And they needed someone to mainly manage a manufacturing lab and teach courses related to that. So moved in, new building, lots of equipment acquisition kind of stuff, with a limited budget, which was a fun kind of adventure and has always been an adventure here.
It sounds like you found this school.
Mhm.
Um, Serendipity happened.
Yeah,
It seems like this has been a program that you've, you know, built somewhat yourself, engineered the program, if you will.
I would definitely not be the person to take credit for that. Yeah, I've
Because there
been
are a
here.
couple professors
There are
of
there are
engineering.
12 or 13 on our faculty now. When I came here, it was 5. Um, so it's grown a lot. The the gentleman who's my boss now has really kind of started the program, had the vision to do it. And the program has been the state of Utah has decided that they want Utah Tech to be the premier kind of polytechnic engineering institution in our 5-state region. So
So it's a public school.
it's a public school, and at least from the legislature, there's a desire to uh, grow the program. So the program is a little unique, though.
Yeah, this is where look, we've talked a lot about training stuff on the show
Yeah,
over time. People are interested in it, but sometimes it gets a little like, okay, great, this high school's doing interesting stuff, blah blah blah. But this is like higher level stuff
sure.
for engineering college students.
Yeah.
Um, Tell me what kind of classes you teach, you personally.
I teach kind of three classes mainly. There's a lecture on manufacturing, and it's your typical lecture that covers all different kinds of manufacturing processes. But then it also dives into philosophy of manufacturing management. We talk a lot about Toyota. We talk about the theory of constraints and zero quality control, and all of these um, approaches or philosophies to managing manufacturing. That course is really fun. Um, it's a lot of it goes from everything from material science to philosophy of inspection or things like that. Kind of a fun, broad course. And then I teach a course uh, for younger students, and it's an introduction to design. So those students have labs, design, and kind of using the equipment in our lab. So they have lab experiences in our machine shop where they're doing machining projects or they're casting, things like that. But the biggest portion of that course is a design project. And they're making a small everyday carry folding knife. They designed the entire thing from the ground up. So for most of these students, this is the very first time that they've had to design and a mechanical assembly where multiple parts need to interact and they need to interact in a certain way. Um, so it's an 8-week design process. They go through 4 different reviews, and then it's an 8-week fabrication process, and they actually make all of the parts that they designed. And that's really, in my mind, such a valuable experience. Um, a lot of education, a lot of engineering education does give students some experience with machining processes, but it's rarely with parts that those students designed. Just because it's a lot of effort. We're teaching students about toolpath, creating toolpath in CAM software and choosing tooling, and they have a lot of freedom. We're there to kind of guide them and teach them. But we have freshman engineering students using uh, a rather nice, it's older, but a nice DMG Mori milling machine. And that's way more than a lot of freshman engineering students get to do. Um, so we're trying to give them experiences that are going to help them in their careers. I not just I cut some aluminum with junky tooling, but I actually made a part that I designed with world-class tooling on a world-class piece of equipment. And we're making these knives. We make the scales of the knife out of titanium. We make the blade out of pre-hardened 440C stainless. So there are some challenges to the way they approach the machining. They have to be careful about it. Um, so
Are they preparing themselves for programming jobs at a shop, engineering jobs at a shop?
perhaps a little different. Some of our students may end up going and doing programming. They're probably not going to be what would be called operators on a machine. Um,
Yeah.
More than likely, if they're involved in machining or manufacturing, it's going to be programming or as kind of a manufacturing or quality engineer, someone who is um, proving out parts that were made on machines like this, or designing parts that need to get made on a machine like this, or they're in charge of the process and they need to fix problems and things like that. So that's who we're aiming for. We're not training machine operators. There are other schools that do that really well. Um, but we're training manufacturing engineers, quality engineers, things like that. And then the last course I teach is my current favorite right now. It's called Modern Machining, and it's a technical elective for seniors. So they choose to take it because they're interested in a career specifically in the field of machining. And that course is, it's so fun. It's a dive into the science of machining. So we go into the thermodynamics of chip formation, the vibration and harmonics in cutting tools, kinematic design on a machine, the material science of carbide and coatings, all kinds of things like that. This semester, we have 14 different guest lecturers coming. These are
Wow.
professionals who are experts in the machining industry, who are donating their time because they're excited about a course like this. We've got some folks one of the three folks who was originally behind the commercialization of tap testing end mills is actually coming here to Utah to do a lecture and a demo with our students. There's a gentleman who he worked for Apple in the 4 or 5 years after the iPhone came out, and he was responsible for their machining processes on the iPhone.
Johnny Ive?
No.
I'm joking.
But he's going to come here and do a lecture for our students called How to Buy a Machine. But super cool people.
The guy who was at Apple is going to come and do a lecture on how to buy a machine.
So of these 14 people, 10 of them have volunteered to fly here to Utah and talk to our students. It's insane.
Why do you think that they've done that? Just because they feel like you guys potentially are going to turn out people to really help the industry, the machining industry in the United States?
I think so, and that's my hope. I try to emphasize with this course. I want this to be something that's different from other institutions that are doing education about machining. The purpose of the course is not to train machinists, although that's great. And the purpose of the course is not just to play around on a machine and cut a few parts. The purpose is really to teach students in all of these topics that we discuss, how does that relate to business decisions and economics?
So that's interesting to me because, well, number one, I mean, you do see engineers often, later going to business school afterward. But yeah, as far as, practical knowledge post university, you're using these skills to make money for somebody, whether it's you or somebody else. Are you teaching the entrepreneurial stuff, or you have business owners coming in?
I am currently. That's one of the things that I would really like. I would love to bring in people who own machining businesses.
Yeah.
To talk to.
I know people in Utah. I mean, there are.
Yeah. Let's talk after, because I would love that opportunity.
People making guns, a lot of gun parts.
In Utah, yeah. Guns and aerospace, right? So, yeah. But it is
probably some shoot 'em up, sew 'em up shops too.
Who knows? But it's a ton of fun. I've spent the last probably 4 years just collecting information and ideas for this course and having conversations with people. And one thing that I hear nonstop is that companies have a need for qualified engineering talent.
Manufacturing companies.
And then companies who are directly in the machining industry. So machine tool builders, cutting tool manufacturers, things like that. So one of my hopes for this course, I always say there's kind of two things. One is these students are going to step out into a role, and they're going to have to make decisions not about how do I make one part necessarily, but how do I make hundreds or thousands of parts and actually make money.
Right.
Um,
Exactly. Because I mean, I remember visiting a customer one time, one of our more shrewd ones, and he was saying how it's like, we have these engineers and they're really good and they figure out a part, but until you've made the part, you have no idea what's actually going to work.
yeah, that's really good.
So I see, like on paper it works,
Yeah,
but until you're actually behind the wheel and testing the car and seeing how it corners and whatever. I just saw F1 recently. Great movie.
me too. It was good.
Yeah, it's just fun,
Yeah, yeah. But
Um,
that's so good. I think that's one of the things that I really try to teach our students. Just because you have a CAD model doesn't mean you're finished. Is it manufacturable and does it function? Um, those are really the two kind of questions that a lot of students, and it's not really their fault, but they don't know how to answer those questions. Um, you know, I've I've started telling some of my students this semester, uh, good engineering is not about really tight tolerances on everything. It's about knowing where to apply tight tolerances and where you don't need to apply tight tolerances. And that's just one example. Um,
right.
but
Because an engineer wants to make everything perfect.
right, yeah. And then the money comes in and says, "Wait a minute," uh, you know. But yeah, so
Well,
one goal
yeah.
of the course is to give students a very kind of realistic, relevant preparation for making decisions in industry. And then the other goal of this course is to inspire students to pursue careers in the machining industry. I think the machining industry is fascinating. I think it's really influential as far as its influence on the economy. And it's legitimately a noble career for someone who wants to make a difference in the world. Um,
Mm.
so I'm hoping to inspire students to go pursue careers at machine tool builders or at cutting tool manufacturers or at machining science software kind of companies or whatever. Um, and already just last semester was the first time that we ran this course last year. And 3 of those students out of the 12 have said, "Yeah, I want to pursue a career specifically in the machining industry." Um, and that's fun
Versus what?
versus just generic manufacturing or something.
Right. Pharmaceuticals or
Yeah.
very interesting. So, what are you seeing in your students?
Mm.
What's some generalizations you can make about how they see the world, how they see the manufacturing industry, the machining industry, and then maybe a few people that kind of stood out and surprised you.
I get to be in an interesting position, specifically related to teaching about manufacturing and machining. So many students, not all of them, but many students who come into engineering school, um, it's probably not on purpose, but they sometimes have an impression that manufacturing is kind of dirty and boring, and um,
It
maybe
can be.
it can be for sure. But maybe it's a kind of career that's sort of beneath you if you have an engineering degree. Um,
Ah, okay. So
and
what one isn't beneath you? What's the glamour one?
if you want to go do research somewhere or work at a company and be designing cool cutting edge products or send parts into space or whatever. Um, and
Chips or
sure,
yeah.
anything like that, or work in automotive industry or something, doing design.
Okay.
And I get to be the person who kind of opens students' eye, and I don't have to do a lot of convincing. It's just I present how cool this industry is, and students are like, "Wow, this is really fun," or "This is really engaging," or or I really enjoy problem solving and just coming up with creative ways of doing things. I like this. So that's a super fun aspect of my career. I get to be the person who introduces students to just how cool manufacturing is. Um, and my hope in doing that, the other thing I see in students, why do you come to college? You're coming here to get a degree. Um, and sometimes there's an
A
attitude.
piece of paper.
Yes, a piece of paper. And sometimes there's an attitude of, I just need to get through this and get it done. And my hope is to maybe change their perspective and say, hey, you get to learn about all this really cool stuff. And when you get into your career, I want to encourage students not to just see it as this is the way I get a paycheck, but this is the way I can do something meaningful in the world.
Well, I was just saying, I mean, I think this is a challenge that a lot of teachers feel the need to do because we, quote unquote, manufacture students, along with most of the world, to be going for the certification, the piece of paper. It seems like you, judging by what you told me about your past experiences, you have a love of learning and have a love of and want to be believing in what you're doing and understanding what you're doing. And not I'd say the majority of people don't see things that way. I mean, right now I have a 3 3/4-year-old, and I've heard on podcasts, read, the kindergarten is the most important class of somebody's life because it's the class that they learn to love learning or not. I heard this guy Steve Levitt from Freakonomics, and he's a professor at University of Chicago, and he said, the first thing that struck him was like these creme de la creme students, and they're in these high level classes, and they're still out to just get the piece of paper and not think and not love the process of it. How much of a fight is it? Are you able to get through to a lot of them?
I hope so. I think somewhat.
I think that must be a really rewarding challenge, though.
It is. It is. I'll share maybe one story. So I have a student who is taking this modern machining course right now. He's fresh in it. And he was not in the first lecture, but he saw me in the hall the day after. And one of his friends was there who is taking the course. And his friend said, oh, this guy's not taking your course. He's taking a dance course instead. And
a dance course?
A dance course. Nothing against dance. Well, fine.
Hell no, nothing against dancing. I'm really into salsa dancing.
It's cool. So the student was like, do you think I should take your course? And I don't know.
So your course is an elective?
It is. It's a technical elective.
Interesting. So it's the choice between your course and dancing. Like those are.
In his case, it was the dance class would not count as elective credit for our degree. Perhaps.
But it was just a time slot.
It was a time slot for him. And he said, oh, I'm worried. I don't know if I want to take your course because I know it's going to be a time commitment. And I said, well, I'm not going to pressure you one way or another. You do you. But I would maybe encourage you to think, why are you here? And what's going to be the best for you in the future? And now he's in the course. And he after the first lecture he was in, he's like, this is amazing. I'm so glad I'm here. And that's just fun, not every.
It's got to be like one of the greatest feelings. Like
it is.
I mean, cool. So few people get to have that intrinsic.
It is fun. It's fairly common among the younger students who are in the manufacturing lecture that I teach, and then I have a person who's kind of the same as me in the department now, and he also teaches this course. And it's pretty common for us to get 2 or 3 students every semester who, by the end of that course, they say, you know what, I came into school and didn't really know what I want to do, or I wanted to design sports equipment or whatever, and
That sounds
didn't
cool.
do it as cool, right? But they say after that class, I think I want to work in manufacturing. Um, and now I've seen students graduate and go get jobs in manufacturing, and um, manufacturing is really common, but that's really, really fun. Uh, it's a cool
Right.
thing.
Well, I mean, I think part of it is cool to influence somebody to get into manufacturing, but I think that the even better part is to create a love of learning.
Yeah,
It seems like that's an achievement that you're really after.
I hope so. I don't want any of my courses to be okay. Just memorize this material and then you're good to go. Um, I want it to be
Yeah.
uh, thought provoking and kind of challenging in a good way. Uh, in a way that really gets students interested and shows students like, wow, there's a lot of potential for a rewarding career in this. You know?
What do you feel like um, your education in the seminary? I How do you think that's influenced the way you go about your life or the way you go about teaching? I mean, to me, it sounds, judging by your story of
Mhm.
like, I'm going to work and take like, one class at a time, like that's pretty clear that you weren't taking that to get a piece of paper. You're taking that because
Yeah.
it had a lot of meaning to you. So, I mean, that goes to show back to what we're talking about, your love of learning and the actual substance of it. Um, what has that done for you as far as the way you approach life, or was it just something really interesting and that's cool too? I mean,
No. What's the relationship between education in theology and education in machining? Uh,
yeah, well, I mean, you learning about that, and
yeah,
that's a part of you.
for sure, for sure. Um, I certainly view my role here um, in spiritual or religious terms. So
Are the
I'm
kids usually religious? I mean, it's Utah,
it.
but I mean,
I'm not part of the majority culture here in Utah, but it is Utah. It's there's a lot of LDS folks here, super great people. Um,
hmm
I I have a strong, and this we could have a whole nother conversation about this, but um, strong conviction that what would be considered regular work is itself um, meaningful, God honoring, um,
hmm
and not just as a way to provide for your family, but as a way to actually do something meaningful and create something good in the world. Um, so I really want to instill that.
does not even, and it's not even just like, running a soup kitchen or doing something that gets money to a charity that saves lives. It's
Right.
for you, the just doing a job that's productive and creating something is something holy in a way.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to say it. And I'm not a religious educator by any means, but I do want to instill a little bit of that in our students, to give them a sense that, hey, my job is not just a paycheck. It's I am doing something meaningful. Um, and if the word I would use as a religious person is worship. Uh, my job itself can be an act of worship. Um, I'm thinking of, First Corinthians, whatever you do, whether you eat or drink or go to work, do all things to the glory of God, right? And that's possible. I understand that there's some complications there because not everyone is on the same, religious wavelength, and that's okay. I think it's something that it's an idea that students are really eager to see and accept. Like they want meaning.
I mean, religion, yeah, let's face it, religion isn't that in, but what is in is purpose,
Yeah,
and as far as,
yeah,
like a certain echelon of society. Yeah. Um, so I think, I don't know, or maybe not. I mean, maybe it's just, on the other hand, materialism and wanting more stuff has has been in style a long time, and playing the game is still pretty pretty in style. I mean, I think higher education, it's a really complicated thing, and
oh,
I'm
for
sure
sure. Yeah,
you can sort of like go like back and forth into the irony of it all, right?
uh-huh.
Like you need a main reason why people go to and pay $1 zillion for higher education is this assumption, which is an assumption that isn't true anymore, of the meritocracy, where you get this piece of paper, it's going to lead to the right internship, it's going to lead to the right contact, although the contact is a big deal.
Sure.
That's going to lead to the right job, that's going to lead to this and that. But at the same time, you figure you're paying so much money, um, you'd think you'd be wanting to get the most for your money,
Mhm.
uh, and not just. But I mean, look, me included, right? Like I went to college, and I liked certain classes. I There were certain ones where I really put my heart into, but most of the time, and a lot of that has to do with the professor too, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
Um, and I believe that school was a lot more than just classes. But it's, at the same time, like we live in a society where you can learn so much on YouTube. You can learn so much outside of school. In a way, I mean,
Yeah.
do you feel like, I don't know, certain, it makes me feel so old to say this, but like younger people,
No,
you know,
yeah.
like get more substance doing their own education outside of class than people who actually pay a bunch of money to go to class.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think without a doubt, um, there are people who teach themselves ham programming, and they're very good at it.
Yeah.
There are people who teach themselves, you name it, any topic in the engineering world, no matter how technical it is, and you can learn that outside of school. I think one of the things that our department really tries to emphasize is relevant hands-on experiences, and that's one of the things that's much harder to do outside of school. Like the average person does not have a $300,000 milling machine and $150,000 in tooling that they can play around,
Yeah.
you know? Um, so there's some of that, Um, we try to we try to do that, but that's even affected the way I run a lot of my curriculum. I'm not I'm trying to offload kind of low value add material. I don't wanna be sitting and giving a lecture on, um here's something I'm in the middle of right now. I have a lecture, and it's all about fasteners and thread sizes, and that's very important for an engineer to understand, but it's low value add because there are so many other ways of learning that, and I only have so
Because you can look at it in a book, and
Right,
AI can tell you what you need
right.
to know.
So, I only have so many hours in front of students. I have 32 sessions with them for this manufacturing course, and I want to make that as valuable of an experience as I can for these students. So I'm I'm working with the guy that I work with, but we're trying to kind of offload that information to something that you do at home and you learn kind of on your own, and replace it with something that's a higher value add for students' time.
Do you think that, um, what I've heard
Mhm.
is just that, the Generation Z people prefer learning by themselves from, say, YouTube, from remotely, rather than hands-on. I'm not sure what it's like for the people that would choose to go
Yeah.
to college. Um, what do you see? Because you're not that generation. Um,
Right. Um, I don't know. I don't know that I have a whole lot of valuable input on that. Um, we
you don't
do
get a vibe from kids like,
not so much. I mean, the thing that I see it's different nowadays. When I was in school, before a class started, everyone's talking, right?
yeah,
And now, before a class starts, every single student is on their phone. Uh,
blech.
and that's
I'm so
exactly
I'm so
happening.
judgmental. I'm so judgmental, aren't I?
I know.
They're
I'm kind of
they're
the
not
same way.
only on their phone, but they're talking to ChatGPT, I bet you.
Maybe. And that's, you have to navigate the world. So that's fine, I guess. But I don't know. I wanna promote uh learning together. One of the things I really valued when I was in school is I remember sitting and doing physics homework with the same friend every week. And we just did it together and bounced ideas off each other and said, why is this
Yeah,
way? And I learned so much better because I had someone there and we jived well together. It was good, but I had someone there to kind of check myself against and say, what about this? And why isn't it this? And um, so it was
yeah.
super beneficial.
No, it's so valuable. It's so valuable, and I suppose that's an opportunity you have. And I, you know, if I'm writing a blog,
Mhm.
um, I don't feel like, my dad writes blogs, I write blogs. When he writes a blog, I go through it, and I'm tough on him and make him edit it again and go back, and
Yeah.
we figure it out together. Somewhat annoying. I feel like, couldn't you have gone over it again yourself? But at the same time, like, he does a lot of great stuff,
Yeah.
and it's a great bonding experience. And when I write, I don't have time for that. I don't have time. Like, and he doesn't have time. So I'm talking to Claude and maybe Chat GPT, and we're going back and forth.
Yeah.
And um, we're having that conversation. Uh, and it's pretty cool. But, at the same time, it's kind of sad that, um,
Talking with the
like,
computer and yeah.
well, I mean, it's great, but it's kind of sad at the same time because, um, like, we're missing out on something,
Yeah.
and a higher level institution where the kids. I think also what's neat is because you're on machines and stuff, they're required to go to class
Right.
versus a lot of places where, go do it in the book and
Yeah.
come and take tests. And what makes me think of is, my niece is a um, theater direction student at Chapman University. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
And it's like one of the best film schools and theater places in the world.
Wow.
And
That's cool.
yeah, but what's ridiculous there is that they're so strict on attendance.
Hmm.
If you miss like a couple classes, you fail.
Interesting.
I mean, it's draconian. It's like she's afraid to go on vacation, and I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, this is college. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I guess you're like doing a script with other people, and
Yeah.
so I think you understand, because you're from a different generation, and so you feel like this is an influence you're having on the kids, like a positive one, or something
I
you're
mean,
trying to have.
maybe that's overstating it, but I hope so. Yeah, I want to give them, uh, firsthand experience of the value of interaction with real people and real experiences. And I tell in the the two classes I teach for freshmen, sophomore students, the very first day, I say, hey, some of this stuff is hopefully new to you. Maybe it's even overwhelming. And I want you to remember you are paying for the opportunity to be put in situations where you don't know how to do things. And that's
Yes.
literally how you learn. So if you feel overwhelmed, you're in the position to get more for your money than the person next to you who doesn't. Um, because you're going to learn, and I'm going to help you through that. So I that's the attitude I hope students have. Is just, yep, I'm here to learn, and I don't get it yet, but I will, and let's go.
Fantastic. All right. Just a few things to wrap it up. You've already talked about this, but um, everybody who listens knows that I'm sort of obsessed with serendipity, and I've started this serendipity channel now on YouTube, and every interview when I have the chance, I try to ask somebody where serendipity played a big part of their life. Luck, whether it was just dumb luck. I don't believe there really is dumb luck, because I believe you have to still be in the right place to receive it.
Sure.
But often it's making your own luck. It's just having your eyes open. You definitely could say the part where you were on vacation in Utah. And what comes to mind when I ask like an important serendipitous experience in your life?
Yeah, I mean, beyond the fact that I'm here now, that's serendipitous. But I would,
Here on this planet or
well,
here in
well,
Utah?
sure, but here doing the job I get to do now. Um, I would go even farther and say this modern machining course. Um, the original idea was just I want to do more machining. I'm really passionate about it. I think it's cool. And as I started collecting ideas for how to do this course and talking with people, I really realized there is a huge need in the industry for a different kind of education about machining. Um, it's not a crash course for machinists. It's a it's a science and business course for engineers. And
Very cool.
a lot of the companies I talk with, the vast majority have said, man, we really need people. We need people who they're not just bodies, but they're passionate about this industry. And that's kind of unknowingly, I sort of fell into this niche opportunity to say, hey, we're gonna do something really unique here at Utah Tech. We're gonna teach um, about machining processes, not as a craft project that you could do in your garage, but as if you were running a business with, you know, a bunch of people and had to make money with a very expensive asset that it's a machine. Um, so yeah, when I first started, I had no idea that there was such a great need in the industry for something like this. And it's been sort of wild to see how different companies are very excited about something like this. And I love having new conversations with people in the industry. It's how I learn. It's how I keep our curriculum relevant. Um, it's how, in some cases, it's how I support the labs that we do. Um, because our budget is very limited. For this course, I have $160 per student. Um,
Unbelievable. How much do the kids pay to go there? A zillion
I'm
dollars.
actually blown away. It is an incredibly inexpensive degree.
In quotes.
So $3,000 to $4,000 a semester.
Really?
Yeah.
In state.
I believe that's out of state. Don't quote me. Maybe 3 to 5, but it's not. I am blown away. I was like, this is
Maybe I'll
way
have to
less than I
send my
thought.
son there.
You should, If you want, the day before he turns 18, I can adopt him and then he can go here for free.
Andrew, thank you so much for doing this. I had a great time. It's been really cool, and wish all the best.
Yeah, Noah, thanks so much.